College football playoff rankings were updated, and the update was revealed last night. ACC's inferiority complex is not going to be helped by the College Football Playoff Committee rankings. Boo! Let's start with the SEC might start developing an inferiority complex. The Big Ten for the top 5 spots.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know. When's the last time they won a national championship?
Been a minute.
Oregon first.
Well, I said Michigan last year.
Yeah. I meant a legitimate national
championship.
Oh,
well, the one where you didn't cheat.
Where you didn't have your coach suspended for multiple games and have whole documentary. Never mind. Oregon first, Ohio State second, Texas, the SEC, right? That makes sense. Texas, the SEC representative third.
Yeah. Oregon, the Big Ten represents.
Yeah, followed up by Penn State and then Indiana. Indiana, an undefeated Big Ten school, fifth. Oregon, an undefeated Big Ten school, first. Both 10-0.
Penn State, one loss.
Yep, above.
Big Ten at 4.
Yep.
Make it make sense.
Penn State and Ohio State are both 8-1 ahead of Indiana, who's 10-0. There's certain logic puzzles that don't make sense about the college football playoff, and this is what I was worried about when they revealed their initial rankings and had Miami, who at the time was undefeated, a handful of spots above BYU, also undefeated, similar resumes, similar ranked wins, and when asked, the committee chair simply said, "It's the eye test." And I went, I hate that, because as soon as we accept the eye test as an explanation, now anytime they want to do anything, they just say the eye test, right? It's not, well, the offense did this, or it's this game we account more for, or this injury, there's nothing tangible they need. They could just go, well, it's the eye test. So Indiana, undefeated Big Ten school, 10-0, they're at fifth. Oregon, undefeated Big Ten school, 10-0, they're in first. Why? Eye test. Why is a one-loss team above an undefeated team? Eye test. Why is a two-loss team above a one-loss team? The eye test. I hate that as an explanation. I hated that when the ACC was benefiting from it last week. So I feel like that enables me to hate it now that the ACC is not benefiting from it. Because I look at Miami, who dropped from the top 5 down to 9 with a loss to Georgia Tech. I don't even hate that as much as I look around and go, all right, well then maybe Notre Dame should be behind Miami, considering they play quite a emphasis of ACC schools, and they lost to Northern Illinois. If you want to knock the Miami for having the bad loss to a team like Georgia Tech, Northern Illinois is worse than Georgia Tech. Again, it's the logic puzzle thing. ESPN, and I went and read an entire ESPN article breaking down the college football playoff rankings. These were some of their takeaways. The Mustangs, meaning SMU, were on the bubble last week with their lone loss to undefeated BYU. But unless there are more upsets in front of them, SMU likely has to win the ACC to make it in the CFP, which is a very realistic possibility. Why in the world would a team whose only loss is to an undefeated, at the moment, 6th ranked in the college football playoff rankings, why in the world would that team need to win their conference to get in?
By 3 points.
Yeah, the BYU win. Yeah. BYU beat SMU by just 3 points.
3 points.
A close loss to what the College Football Playoff Committee is telling us is the 6th best team in the country. And they're already out of the college football playoff top 12 that they would need to get in. And ESPN is hypothesizing they'd have to win the conference to get in. So if they smoke everybody that they have in the regular season and lose to Miami on a last-second field goal in the ACC championship, ESPN is already preparing us to not have them get in. Already. They're doing these little, warning shots, just so it won't be as crazy when they start firing them real ammo during the college football playoff reveals later on in the season. Remember earlier this week we played, I think it was Heather Dinich, the audio saying, "Don't be surprised if an SEC 3-loss team gets in." I'm going, you're setting us up. right? You're trying to soften it so when it happens, we've already gotten angry about it a couple weeks ago when you said it. So now SMU is going to be a one-loss ACC team heading to the conference championship, and they're going to be in 15th because Ole Miss, and they're at the time maybe 3 losses, needs to be up there in the mix. More from the ESPN article. Number 20 Clemson could still win the ACC, and a 2-loss ACC champion is more likely to be jumped by 1-loss Boise State. We have some audio here from Heather Dinich once again on what happens if Clemson wins the ACC.
It's not a reservation at the table for the Power 4 conferences. So consider this. If Clemson wins the ACC, you have a 2-loss ACC champ. Do they put Boise ahead of them as a 1-loss Mountain Conference champion? Boise gets the bye. What happens if SMU beats Miami? They have a 1-loss ACC champ. But again, to my point, where are they ranked tonight? What do they think of a potential ACC champion that's ranked behind 3 2-loss SEC teams tonight? How does that bode for the future if SMU wins the ACC?
I can't emphasize this enough. I like Boise. Ashton Genty is a monster at the running back position. The Boise State Broncos have no business being ranked over a 1 or 2-loss ACC champion. No, they already... The committee has already made it obvious you can be ahead of a team with more losses if you play a more difficult schedule. That's how Alabama ends up over SMU. That's how Texas ends up over BYU, right? These are teams that have more losses ranked higher than a team with less losses. So don't sit around here and say, if an ACC champion has 2 losses, Boise State, if they have 1 loss, has to be above them or even could possibly be above them. Do you know who Boise State's best win is? UNLV, I don't even know. You go back and watch their schedule. It's a bunch of teams that darn sure wouldn't count as anything impressive if an ACC team beat them in a non-conference game.
Washington State?
Maybe. Their best game is a close loss to Oregon, but obviously we don't care about close losses to top 6 teams, or else SMU would be higher. 3-point loss to a team in the top. Oh, look at that. Now it counts for Boise. If Boise ends up over an ACC champion and the ACC champion has anything less than 3 losses, that is I would argue, as bad of a misranking as we've seen. And they're already preparing us for it. They're already trying to soften the blow. Have you ever been the person at like a wedding who has the phone and the stats app up, and you might be sitting at a table with somebody who is a diehard fan, and you're checking the stats, and you start with like, all right, game just started. All right, it's 7-0. All right, 14, and then you're just like, you know what? I think you should prepare for bad news. Like I think this could end up being a 30-7 loss for you. I think you should start mentally getting ready for it. That's what ESPN is doing to the ACC right now. It starts with like, well, let's debate why Miami is where it is. And you're like, all right, yeah, let's do it. All right, let's debate why Alabama is over Ole Miss. And then okay, it's like, all right, let's. Eventually, they're just like, you know what? You should probably prepare to only get your ACC champion in. And whoever else is a good team and doesn't win the ACC championship and get the automatic bid, you should just get ready for that team to be playing in the Beef O'Brady's Bowl. And just get yourself a drink.